The atmosphere on the set of Good Morning America that morning was one of anticipation and excitement. The producers had promoted the upcoming segment for days, a rare in-studio appearance by John Travolta, who was there to talk about his new film project, his enduring career, and his personal reflections on life after decades in the spotlight. Fans packed the studio audience, the lights gleamed off the polished floor, and Michael Strahan, ever the charismatic and composed host, prepared to lead what was expected to be a lighthearted and nostalgic conversation. No one in the room could have predicted that what started as a friendly exchange would soon spiral into one of the most uncomfortable moments ever aired live on morning television. Travolta, dressed sharply in a dark tailored suit with a crisp white shirt and his signature smile, walked onto the set to enthusiastic applause. He waved to the crowd, hugged Michael Strahan, and took his seat. At first, the conversation flowed smoothly. They spoke about Travolta's early days in Saturday Night Fever, the legacy of Grease, and his emotional connection to his fans. His responses were thoughtful, and his charisma was intact, that effortless blend of old-school Hollywood charm and genuine warmth that had endeared him to millions. But as the conversation shifted toward more personal territory, the tone subtly changed. Strahan, known for his easygoing demeanor but also for occasionally pushing his guests toward candid moments, began to ask about the challenges Travolta had faced in recent years. He brought up the loss of Travolta's wife, Kelly Preston, and the actor's struggles with maintaining privacy in an era dominated by social media speculation. Travolta initially answered with grace, speaking softly about grief, family, and resilience. The studio grew quiet as he described how he coped with the pain and how his children had been his anchor through it all. Yet Strahan, perhaps sensing an opportunity for a deeper revelation, followed up with a question that seemed to catch Travolta off guard. "John," Strahan said, leaning forward slightly, "a lot of people have wondered how you've been dealing with some of the rumors that have followed you around all these years, about your personal life, your beliefs, even your image in Hollywood. Do you ever feel like people see the headlines and forget who you really are?" There was a brief, almost imperceptible pause. Travolta blinked, his smile faltered, and his hands shifted slightly on his lap. The audience sensed the tension, though Strahan's tone remained neutral. "Well," Travolta began, choosing his words carefully, "I think anyone who's been in this business as long as I have learns to ignore most of that noise. People talk, people speculate, it's part of the job. But at the end of the day, I know who I am, and the people who matter to me know who I am. That's what counts." Strahan nodded, but instead of moving on, he pressed further. "But when the rumors go beyond speculation, when they start to define how the public sees you, doesn't that make you angry? I mean, you've been accused of some pretty wild things over the years. Do you ever feel like confronting those stories head-on?" Travolta's posture stiffened. His smile vanished completely now. "Michael," he said, his voice low but steady, "I'm here to talk about my work, my film, and the good things happening in my life. I think there's a difference between a fair question and one that's meant to stir the pot." The audience gave a polite murmur, unsure how to react. Strahan, however, didn't back down. "I get that, John," he replied, maintaining his trademark calm. "But part of what makes you such an interesting guest is that you've lived through so many ups and downs in public. People want to understand the man behind the image. I'm not trying to stir anything, I'm just asking what a lot of viewers are already wondering." Travolta's expression hardened. He glanced off camera toward the producers, perhaps hoping someone would step in or redirect the conversation. When no one did, he took a slow breath and leaned forward slightly. "Michael, I've been doing interviews for decades. I've talked about my career, my family, my projects, all the things I'm proud of. What I won't do is entertain gossip or controversy that has nothing to do with who I really am. I've earned that respect, and I expect it here too." For a few seconds, there was complete silence. Even the hum of the studio lights seemed to fade. Strahan, sensing the growing discomfort, attempted to smooth things over. "Fair enough," he said with a practiced smile. "Let's pivot then. Tell me about what drew you to this new role." But by then, the moment had already changed the energy in the room. Travolta's responses became clipped, and his eyes darted occasionally toward the floor. The warmth that had defined the first part of the interview had evaporated. A few minutes later, Strahan brought up another topic, one that seemed innocuous on the surface but would prove to be the final spark. He mentioned Travolta's long-standing association with a controversial organization, framing the question as one about belief, resilience, and public perception. "You've always spoken about finding peace through your faith," Strahan said. "Do you think that belief system still shapes your choices today?" Travolta's jaw tightened. He looked directly at Strahan, his voice now carrying a sharpness that surprised even him. "Michael, I don't think it's appropriate to turn this into a debate about what I believe in. I've respected this platform for years, but this line of questioning is crossing a line." Strahan raised his hand slightly in a gesture of calm. "I'm not trying to debate, John. I just think people are curious about how it influences your life. You've been very open about it in the past." "Not like this," Travolta shot back, his tone suddenly rising. "Not when it feels like I'm being interrogated on live television. I came here to promote a film, not to defend my faith or my character." The tension was palpable. The studio audience, usually quick to laugh or applaud, sat frozen. Producers behind the cameras exchanged frantic looks, uncertain whether to cut to commercial or let the exchange play out. Strahan, ever the professional, tried to regain control, but the moment had already slipped beyond the usual bounds of polite television banter. "John, if I gave that impression, I apologize," Strahan said carefully. "That's not my intent." Travolta shook his head. "Intent or not, it's disrespectful. I've been doing this long enough to know when someone's trying to push a story. I'm done." With that, he removed his microphone, stood up from his chair, and looked directly into the camera. "I've always appreciated Good Morning America and the fans who support me, but I won't sit here and be disrespected under the guise of journalism." Gasps echoed across the studio as he turned and walked off set. The camera panned briefly to Strahan, who looked momentarily stunned before regaining his composure. "Well," he said with a faint, uneasy laugh, "we'll be right back after a quick break." The show abruptly cut to commercials. Behind the scenes, the studio erupted in chaos. Producers scrambled to figure out how to handle the situation, unsure if Travolta would return or if they should prepare a public statement. Strahan reportedly followed Travolta backstage, hoping to de-escalate the situation. Witnesses later claimed that the two exchanged heated words off camera, Travolta accusing Strahan of ambushing him, and Strahan insisting that he was merely doing his job as an interviewer. By the time the show returned from its commercial break, Strahan appeared composed but visibly unsettled. He addressed the incident briefly, saying, "Sometimes conversations take unexpected turns. We have the utmost respect for all our guests, and we wish John the best with his new film." He smiled for the cameras, but viewers could sense the awkwardness lingering beneath the surface. Clips of the confrontation quickly spread across social media. Within minutes, hashtags like #Travolta walks off and #Strahan clash began trending on X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram. Some viewers defended Travolta, saying Strahan had pushed too hard and disrespected his privacy. Others argued that Travolta had overreacted and that a seasoned actor like him should have been able to handle tough questions more gracefully. The morning talk show community buzzed with commentary, and entertainment blogs seized on the story, replaying the footage from every angle. Later that day, Travolta's publicist released a statement emphasizing that the actor valued open conversations but would not tolerate invasive or disrespectful questions about his personal life. "John has always been transparent about his professional journey and deeply appreciates opportunities to connect with his fans," the statement read. However, he expects interviews to focus on his work and accomplishments, not unfounded speculation or tabloid-driven narratives. Meanwhile, ABC issued its own measured response, standing by Strahan while acknowledging that the segment did not go as planned. They praised both men for their professionalism and emphasized that Good Morning America remains committed to respectful and meaningful dialogue with all guests. In the days that followed, entertainment pundits debated who was at fault. Some felt Strahan's questions were legitimate and within the bounds of journalism, arguing that celebrities can't pick and choose which parts of their public image they discuss. Others believed Travolta's frustration was justified, pointing out that grief, faith, and personal privacy are sensitive subjects, and that live television isn't always the place to explore them without consent. For Travolta, the incident cast a temporary shadow over what should have been a celebratory press tour. Yet, ironically, It also drew more attention to his new film, which saw a surge of interest following the viral clip. The actor kept a low profile for several days, skipping scheduled interviews and appearances. But when he finally broke his silence in a follow-up conversation with a more sympathetic host, he appeared calm and reflective. "Look, I've been in this industry for over 40 years, he said. I've seen everything. But there are moments when you have to draw a line, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. That's all that happened that day." In the end, the incident served as yet another reminder of the unpredictable nature of live television, and the delicate balance between curiosity and intrusion. What was meant to be a routine promotional appearance became a viral moment, one that highlighted both the pressures faced by public figures and the fine line journalists walk when probing for truth. For Michael Strahan and John Travolta, it was an encounter neither would soon forget, a clash of personalities and principles played out under the unforgiving glare of the morning show spotlight.